Good morning, family. That was kind of dead. Okay, thank you. Okay, my name's Barbara Kidder. I am a woman in long-term recovery, and what that means for me is I haven't found it necessary to drink or drugs since December 20th, 2016. I want to welcome all of you guys to the 2022 Oxford House World Convention. Your lanyards and name badges are required to enter all sessions. Silence your cell phones and during the breakout sessions, and no side conversations during the panel. Step outside if you need to speak. Please don't smoke or vape near any entrances. Dispose of the cigarette butts properly and safely. No littering, which means that big yellow thing out there where the cigarettes are. I've seen a lot of trash, so don't use that as a trash can, please. Take notes during the sessions to relay back to your chapters, and questions will only be addressed at the end of the session. All right, and this panel is working together with houses, chapters, associations, and alumni. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what this panel is about, and then we'll get into our wonderful speakers. Today, we also have Nathan Fabulous Truitt with us. Yeah. Vanessa Phelps with the hot hair. Ashley Mange with the wonderful lipstick. Sorry. And David Edge, and he is definitely dressed edgy, huh? Yeah. All right. In many states, houses, chapters, and state associations all work together, recognizing the different roles of each. Sometimes, however, there is a bureaucratic overreach, which should be avoided. One of the biggest challenges is fostering democracy in houses and chapters. The system is purposely rigged to foster democracy by its emphasis on house meetings, the elections, and chapters that everyone will be treated equally. By establishing term limits on house officers, everyone has the chance to rise to the occasion, accept responsibility, learn leadership, and strengthen sobriety. It is also important for Oxford House outreach workers to serve as a resource persons for residents, teaching them how the Oxford House system works, but like Tom Sawyer, challenging the residents to do the work themselves. During the pandemic, many meetings had to be conducted via Zoom. How well did this work? Are there situations where virtual meetings are preferable to in-person meetings? And if so, under what circumstances, since memberships in chapters or state association is always voluntary, emphasizing fellowship over enforcement and education over authoritism and necessary and builds membership. While housing service committees play an important education role, members need to remember their role is to act as helpers, not as enforcers or bullies. Chapters and state associations have an important role to play in supporting individual Oxford houses and their residents. Still, at all times, they need to recognize the autonomy of each individual Oxford house. The panel will discuss what Oxford House chapters and state associations can do to build constructive relationships with each other. And first off, we have Nathan Truitt. Nathan Truitt moved into Oxford House Highland Crest in 2017 with less than 24 hours clean and a backpack. Since that first house, he stepped up into service, opening houses across Topeka, Kansas. He then was offered the opportunity to work for the Oxford House in Arizona with a great team, helped build Arizona State with 83 houses when there was once none. He had since moved out and helped start Arizona's Alumni Association. He also has founded the Arizona Walk for Recovery, and this is what made it possible that one house in that one city that answered the phone for a druggie like him. I give you Nathan.
Good morning. Oh, that is loud. All right, so my name is Nathan Truitt. I am a man in long-term recovery. What that means for me is I've not found it necessary to take a drink or a drug since September 30th of 2017. And my first day in Oxford House was literally the next day. So it was definitely pretty pivotal. So let me hit arrows. What I'm going to be talking about in the kind of triangle is houses working together. I know for me, the probably the thing that made me stay and like got me involved in Oxford House was the experience I had when I moved into my first house and the relationships that were built in that. So in your house, building strong relationships with your housemates is definitely the first start in getting your houses ready to want to work with other houses. The thing that sets us apart from all the other kind of options that are out there for housing is that, we have a family atmosphere. We're not just a house manager shaking his finger, asking where the rent is, you know what I mean, that might not be flying and doing the right things on his side of the street, but is holding you accountable to make you do it. We're not like that. We operate as a family. Everybody wants to see everybody succeed, or it should be that way in every house. So building strong relationships in your house is definitely the first place you want to start. The second way that houses can work together, and really is the main way, is through the Housing Services Committee. So having a strong Housing Services Committee in your area will really, really set you apart. And having a strong area with strong houses that are actually supporting each other and following the model. So I'm going to read you an HSC mission statement. And it's small, so bear with me. So Housing Services Committee primary purpose is to be instrumental in the opening, training, and filling of houses in the chapter, armed with suggestions of the model and knowledge of the manual. The seasoned residents teach the newcomers through experience. It is the proactive right arm of the chapter. Through service, not governing, the committee prospects the model and ensures that every newcomer is given an honest chance at recovery. HSC is an example of replication in action. Serving on the committee is a privilege, not a right, and members will be held accountable in protecting each house's autonomy. So for me, that's what really got me excited about Oxford House. I think my first week in Oxford House, they said, oh, you're going to be our HSR and you need to be at this meeting at this time. And I went there and they were like, oh, well, how's your houses doing? You know what I mean? And I just kind of spilled the beans, right? And just told them the truth. Well, anyway, from that day forward, I was able to kind of be taken under some people's wings. And I became like an Oxford House like service junkie. But the Housing Services Committee, really what it is it's houses, members in the houses supporting each other and offering support to the other houses. So when you have one house that may be good in one area and one house that's struggling in the other area, the best thing about Oxford House is let's go lift them up, you know what I mean? Let's teach them what we know over here to do well, and maybe they're good in something else at their house, and they'll come over and teach us the same thing. So it's really kind of like links all working together. One of the ways that the Housing Services Committee can be of assistance to houses in the area is putting on trainings. I love new member orientations. How many areas in here have new member orientations in your area? Bam. I like it, right? Because it's a new person in Oxford House's probably first real look and glimpse about what we are, you know what I mean? And how we operate and what can they expect. It pulls them into the Oxford House family that's outside of just their one individual house. So putting on trainings like new member orientation is really good. House officer trainings, like I said earlier, like when you have someone that's really good at this part of Oxford House and someone that's really good at this part at Oxford House and this part, and you put them together and you send them out and you have them helping out all the houses, like you're going to have a really, really strong area. I'm very competitive, so I want not just the one house that I'm in to be doing really well, right? I want our whole area to be thriving, right? So the one way we get there is supporting each other and teaching each other. Another really cool way of housing working together is expansion. So how many people here have had an opportunity to help open a new house? Oh, that's a lot. That's good. I started off in Kansas. Kansas doesn't really have outreach, so we were kind of left to our own devices to open new houses. Probably messed it up a lot on that first house that I opened up, but we were able to open up. But that was like something to me that I saw my community be able to step up and kind of support each other. So we had people from all the houses in our chapter that were there to move furniture. We bought pizza and energy drinks, you know what I mean? We made it a party. They were there to set up the binders. At our first house meeting, we had a person from other houses with each person's position sitting right next to them and teaching them. And it's, again, another way that if we all link together, we'll be a lot stronger. So if you haven't had the opportunity to help open up a house in your area, it's very rewarding, very, very rewarding. And then the last and most important part that I think of houses working together that really kind of ties everything in is unity. If recovery is not fun, nobody's not going to want to be in it. You know what I mean? If we don't make it fun, if we don't give it, something to be exciting about, then no one's going to want to be in recovery. They're like, well, this is boring. You know what I mean? I have more fun kind of ripping and running. So building unity within your area is, I think, probably closer to the top, something that's super important to keep it. It's usually the first suggestion I'll give a house, like, oh, well, this person's mad at this person, or we're not getting along, or whatever issue it is. And the first question I ask them is, how's the unity in the house? When's the last time you guys got together and did something fun? You know what I mean? When's the last time you broke bread together and had dinner? You know what I mean? So having fun and unity, and it's a way too to unite other chapters or houses and other chapters, which I won't get into too much because Vanessa's going to talk about. But in Arizona, I work in a real big metro area. We have a lot of chapters, and at one point it was kind of split, like East Valley versus West Valley. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, this is not good. We're not in competition like that. So one of the things we did is we planned a unity event every week. Every week, a chapter in that area was planning a unity event. We invited everybody else over. So try to have as much fun as you can. Definitely inviting other houses over. And I think I'm going to turn it right over to Vanessa.
Thank you, Nathan. And next we have Vanessa Phelps. She is a Louisiana native where she lived until joining the Army at age 18. She received an honorable discharge after one tour overseas and 5 years of service. She came into an Oxford House of Louisiana in 2019, where she immediately stepped up into service and hoped to one day be an employee of the organization that saved her life. After 10 months, she was hired in Alabama, and she has opened 10 houses and started 2 new areas in the state. I give you Vanessa.
Hey, I'm Vanessa. I'm a woman in long-term recovery, and what that means for me is I haven't felt necessary to have a drink or a drug since January 19th, 2019. And I'm really nervous, and my voice is shaky, and I'm really sorry. Doing great. I've introduced myself as doing great. I know my name. Thank you. All right, so first one, what is a chapter? So whenever 3 or more houses are open in the area, that's whenever you can form chapters. Also, whenever you have, if you have 12 houses in your area in one chapter, if it was me, I would split them. We all know chapter meetings are very hectic and chaotic, so y'all can vote to, maybe split into 2 chapters in the same area. Chapters are there to support the houses and just offer help and guidance with things that go on in your house. And of course, we're there to expand the number of Oxford houses to, I guess, 10,000 now. So we got a little ways to go. The importance of house participation within a chapter. So you want to be there to be able to participate in the democratic process. Just like in your house, you want to know where all your money's going. So you want to attend chapter meetings because that's also your money. So you want to know what the money's being spent on, what y'all are doing. If y'all are giving out loans, you want to be able to vote on that loan. If you know that a house is behind $1,500 with EES, y'all want to ask those questions in chapter. Why does this house need a loan? I keep getting shaky. Thank you. Also, so you're going to be voting on officers, chapter officers. So y'all want to be there to either run for a chapter officer position or to be there to participate in that vote. You want to make sure if you're running for, how many chapter officers are in here? Wow. How many are previous chapter officers? How many served their full term as a chapter officer? So that's very important too. You know, you want to make sure that whenever you're running for a chapter officer position that you're not just doing it to have a title of a chapter officer, you know, that you're doing it and you're going to stick with it for the year. It's a year-long commitment. You want to make sure that the people y'all are voting in are people that want to be involved and want to help out and want to make it that whole year. And you want to lead by example. You know, if you have someone running for a chapter officer position, you know that they owe $500 to their house. Y'all want to kind of ask those questions like, you know, are you sure that this person's right for a chapter officer position whenever they're not leading by example? Paying dues, you know, whenever y'all pay dues, that goes to help houses, you know, with loans that are having challenges. Yes. Yeah. It also goes to opening new houses. You know, your chapters can vote to maybe donate some money for the house to, you know, buy new beds or, you know, to buy or to turn the utilities on or something, or y'all can vote to give them an actual loan from your chapter. It goes towards unity events. It goes towards coming to conventions. You know, I know a lot of chapters help send a lot of y'all here. So that's what we pay due. How many was paid by chapter to come here? So if your houses aren't paying the dues, none of y'all's hands would have been raised. You know, y'all would have had to find that money some other way. Chapters assisting houses, not controlling. This is a big one for me. I could probably, if I wasn't behind a microphone, I could talk forever about it. But so chapter's not there to run your house. Chapter is there to assist you in coming up with a solution on your own. Whenever your house is having problems and y'all ask chapter to come in, all the chapter officers don't need to go. One person can get done can do it way better than 6 chapter officers, because then it sounds like the house is being attacked. You know, whenever a lot of people show up in full force, it's kind of like a witch hunt. You know, and everybody gets mad and, you know, combative. So one chapter officer going in and helping them find a solution and come to a solution themselves is a lot better than everybody coming in and trying to control the house. So this happens a lot in my area, and at first I got really mad about it. People would ask me where I worked. Like, what do you do for a living? Like, you're always in pajamas or, you know, sweatpants. Like, what do you do? Like, every time I go to a house meeting, like, people would ask me that. And at first I would like, you know, am I not making it obvious enough that I'm an outreach worker? But then I started thinking about it, and it's because I don't go into their house meetings and try to tell them what to do. So they think that I'm just a chapter officer that's coming in to assist and help. So now whenever they ask me, what do I do for a living? You know, I don't take offense to it, because I take it as a compliment now. And that's how it should be with chapter officers as well. And this one's really important. You don't need a title to be of service. You don't have to be a chapter officer if you know how to do an audit and a house needs help with the audit, go help them with the audit. If you're really good with the paperwork, the bookwork, go assist the other houses. Some people understand the model better, and some houses don't really grasp it, so you can go in there and just help them. You don't have to be a chapter chair or any kind of position. That's what we're all here for, is to just help each other. And that's all I have. Thank you.
You did amazing. How about that? Vanessa, you did amazing. Yeah. All right, next up we have Ashley Maines. Ashley moved into, how do you say that?
What?
The house?
Oxford House Chrysalis.
Chrysalis, sorry, on February 7th, 2020 in Oklahoma City. She was very active in helping with the houses in her chapter. She was hired as an outreach worker January 2021 for Central Oklahoma. She loves unity and inspiring members to get out of their comfort zone. She believes that all things we do in life should be fun and done with lots of energy. I give you Ashley.
All right. Who that is? Like it carries all the way back here, Nathan. Like it hears me. Hi, everybody. How are y'all doing today? Hi. My name is Ashley Mangus, and I am a woman in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is I haven't had a desire or a need to put any mind-altering substances in my body since October 15th of 2019. And for that, I am grateful. All right, guys, so a little bit about me real quick before we get into talking about working with associations. I have always been a person, I'm one of 6 siblings, and I'm right in the middle, okay? I'm my mother's 3rd child, and my mother always used to tell me, you just do too much, like you're just everywhere. Don't touch that, that belongs to your brother, leave them alone. So in active addiction, I did the most, so when I came into Oxford House and I started paying attention to what was happening in my house, and I went to one chapter meeting before the pandemic hit, but I saw what it was, and that made sense to me. There are people in this room who this is what they do. They are centered in this. And then the world was like, shelter in place. And I was like, oh my God, what do you mean shelter in place? I was already just coming to grips that I was going to live with 8 other women that were kind of crazy like me. And now we're got a shelter in place together. How many of y'all got sober in the pandemic? That's a lot. That's a lot. So, we immediately went to Zoom meetings and things. I actually got elected as chapter chair for Chapter 5 in Oklahoma City over Zoom. And that's a big part of our panel is navigating through that. But what I do want to say, if y'all haven't picked up on it already, that our panel is a path. It starts with the house that you move into. And, you're told all these things during the interview process, and the very first day that you get there, you're going to be required to do this, and then you got to do that, and you got to wash your clothes, and all the things, right? And we're like, whoa. And then we get to go to our first chapter meeting. And, there's people, call this meeting to order, motion for this, pay that bill there, all the things, and you're like, okay, Fortunately for me, I got to sit with my entire house, so I was kind of sheltered, to what was really going on. And what I notice as an outreach worker is the people that want to be right in the middle of this thing go to every single chapter meeting, whether they're a chapter officer or not. They're there. And they've got the bag of energy drinks, and they're passing them out. And they're like, grateful to be here. Who wants a bang? So let's talk on state association, because that's the next part of the path. How many of y'all are a state officer in your state? All right, very good. How many want to be a state officer in your state? How many of y'all are curious about it? All right, well, let's talk about it. Okay, so the primary purpose of an association, so we have state and regional, the assistance of chapters within its area by providing training, technical support, and assistance and expansion through the development of new houses. That sounds like something from college. Basically what it is, guys, is associations meet every other month. And listen, I've been in Oxford House for 3 years, and I've been an outreach worker for coming up on 2, and I still have to think, okay, we met in August, so then is it, okay, I have to do that every single time. But what it is the chapter chairs of your state meet together to discuss, number 1, what is going on in the state, okay? There's various positions, just like at the chapter level. But what's most important is this threefold mission, the internal transfer of knowledge and quality assurance. So we do that by trainings, workshops, conventions. And this is the state association's pulse, okay? If you're a member of the state association or regional association in your area, that means you've probably been around a little bit. You've been to a bunch of house meetings, you're a part of the Housing Services Committee, you've shakenly raised your hand at chapter to be the secretary, and then you got comfortable with secretary, so you moved up to treasurer, and so on and so forth. And the coolest thing for me about Oxford House, guys, is this stuff happens organically, without a lot of thought. We just go do the things, you know. Oxford House half measures down the road is just messing up again, so here we go. We all get in the car, the one housemate that has a car, and we go. And we sit, you like that, right? You like that, half measures. And then Oxford House Excellence over there is throwing their second Unity event of the month, so we go. Okay? So don't let any level of this path intimidate you. I've got a huge personality. I'm very chatty and talkative, and I'm loud. But, you know, I feel, you know, a big part of my job is inspiring my members who aren't as bold as I am, right? You know, I want to be the advocate for the ones that are a little more shy and a little in their comfort zone. Because at the end of the day, each single one of us is either an alcoholic or an addict or both, you know. So we plan workshops, conferences, and convention. I am an outreach worker from the great state of Oklahoma. Yeah. Woo! And we recently had a workshop for our state officers. And what we did is we met in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we spent 2 days, and we talked about a lot of goals and plans that we have for our state. We've got a great leadership workshop coming up in Beaver Lake, Arkansas, where we always get a mix of our members that are actively working in houses and chapters and states, and we're like, bring your newcomer that follows you around the house and wants to do what you do. Bring that person too, right? Bring that person that is so amazed by their new life and recovery that they want what you have. Because when we walk into the doors of the 12-step meeting hall, that is what they tell us there. See, find someone that has what you want and ask them how they got it, right? Same thing in Oxford House. You know, so the guy that is willing to go to all the things, bring that person to all these trainings. Oklahoma just had its state convention. We had 358 members in Ardmore, Oklahoma. That is our biggest one yet. And it's the state association that puts that on for us. And it's the members that belong to the state association leadership that plan this event, that pick where it's at, that say this is what we're going to do. And then we find members to be on those panels. And they're full of fear. They're so full. One of them sitting right here in the front row. He's so full of fear. But the best thing for me about pushing someone to do those things at that level, at these conventions, like I'm doing today, is the look on their face when it's over. Guys, y'all will survive. Y'all will survive being up here. Y'all will survive. You know, even if you don't get elected to a chapter position when you go back home, right? Say that don't happen for you. Raise it the next month and the next month. I'm going to be the next state chair. You know, you got to take ownership of that. So we're also very important is the development to meet the need of beds to satisfy the state demands. If there is a humongous charter violation that happens in your area, your state officers should know about that, okay? They've been through, at the chapter level, all the crazy chapter violations. So them as a quorum can assist with helping out that house or that area that is challenged, okay? When I started in Norman, Oklahoma, the area was challenged. You know what I mean? But like Nathan talked about on the house level and healthy competition, you have to inspire people to compete in a healthy manner and drive them with a little bit of healthy fear. There is nothing wrong with a little bit of healthy fear in life. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? You better do these things if you want to stay sober. Yeah. Do the things. So the last one, guys, is a utilization of data. I know not every state does this. The state of Oklahoma does. We do a monthly housing summary report. They hate it. They hate it. But it tells us where everybody's at. And me personally, my favorite section is the very honest comment section. And it's like, look, we've been working to fill our beds, but the 4 guys we have, we're eating family dinners, we're going to meetings together, and we're looking for our new members, and we're answering our phones. Like that to me is a house that has been given the right training and the right guidance and the right support, right? Because Oxford House is all about support, wraparound support. So what I will close with is this. I did write one thing down. Okay. If you're here today, I venture to say, I'm sorry. See, that's why I write nothing down. I always mess up. All right, every single one of you today is on a recovery journey, including this panel that's up here with me. But if you're here in this room today, I venture to say that you are very willing and have a heart for service. Okay? You are so welcome. You right there. I encourage you to follow the Oxford path, house, chapter, state association, alumni, and beyond. If you're just a house member today, go home and raise your hand at the next chapter meeting. If you're in chapter leadership today, jump in the car with that chapter chair that's going to the state meeting and raise your hand at the next state elections. Continue to grow, learn, and gain experience. Guys, keep in mind, this whole path we're on, we get to do these things today. We do not have to. So if you get to a point where you have to go to that house meeting, you have to go to that state association meeting, you have to, you need to get recentered again and hang out with that newcomer who gets to get in the door. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashley. Wow, this is a pretty amazing panel, you guys. Lots of information. Are y'all taking notes? So that means you're going to have a lot of questions, right? Yeah. Okay, but you still have to wait for that. All right. All right, next we have Devin Edge. Devin Edge started his Oxford House journey by way of reentry through the Newport News Sheriff's Office. He was first accepted in Oxford House Little Back River in October of 2020. There he became fully involved in service with the House and chapter. In January of 2022, Devin Edge was offered a position as an outreach worker and relocated to the Northern Virginia region. He now resides in Richmond with his son and is serving the Central Virginia area. Please welcome Devin Edge.
Hey guys, I'm Devin. I'm the new guy. So, this is my first World Convention. And about a week ago, I got a weird email from Barbara, and it was saying, are you coming to the meeting, the panel meeting? And I was like, what are you talking about? And it was for this panel. I didn't know I was on this panel. My boss didn't tell me. I was like, man, I want to enjoy my first convention, not be up here. But this is cool. I have a unique experience, I think, with Oxford because I came in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. So all I've ever known is Zoom Oxford. I hear stories of what it used to be like, and it sounded great. I want, the chapter meetings and everything. But when I came, my first house, they were doing meetings from their bedrooms. Yes, Virginia was shut down. Oh, there we go. There's the triangle. Yeah, they were doing meetings from the bedroom, and it was very strange for me. Now, I stayed because I was bonded out to the house. So, you know, my choices were pretty obvious. But it was just strange. And what's even crazier is Oxford House has been around for so long, and I never heard of it before 2020. My first experience, even hearing the name, was I was at a AA meeting, and there used to be this group of guys that came in together. And I remember them because after the meeting, they would take the sugar packets, and they would always be like, "We need this for the house." And I was like, that was what I thought. I'm like, Oxford's, they must be struggling over there. I don't know what all that's all about. But one of those guys, his name's Mike Trupiano, and he plays a big part in my story because he was the president of Littleback in Hampton, Virginia. And August 20th, 2020, I was arrested, and I was in a stolen U-Haul van. I could say this because I pled guilty already, so we could talk about this. And I was with my then pregnant girlfriend, and we had a 3-year-old son. And we were living in this U-Haul throughout the pandemic. I didn't even know there was a pandemic going on. That's how lost we were. We had very little belongings in this U-Haul, and every dollar we got went to the gas and getting our fix every day. And everything else was stolen, diapers, everything. And that was the way we were living. And on August 20th, 2020, I was attempting to sell stolen merchandise, and I didn't know I was selling it to an undercover police officer. And honestly, when I was arrested, I was relieved. I really was, because I knew that I just didn't want to do that. You know, I love my children. I'm a father of 4. I was in my 2 older kids' life before, and I knew what it was like to be a good father, but I was just so lost and broken, I was just stuck. So getting arrested was a very good thing. Now, the bad part was in the pandemic, if it was nonviolent in Virginia, they were releasing you very quickly. And so they told me, they were like, look, you need to figure out where you're going. And I'm the type of addict that, like, I need to be kept away for a while so that obsession goes away. Like, I was scared to get out because I knew it was too soon and I was gonna go run right back. And this guy, Mike Trupiano from Littleback, my ex was able to get a hold of him on the phone and set up a phone interview. So I was in my cell, and the shift sergeant was able to schedule the phone interview. And I tried to call the house line, but it wouldn't accept the collect calls. So I had to call my ex, and she held the phone up, and I had to call him on the other line. And that's how I did my interview. It was so crazy. And what's even crazier is he showed up to court. This guy really didn't even know me. They accepted me. They were like, we're going to give you a chance. And they showed up. And they vouched for me, and they bonded me out to that house. And that's how I started Oxford House. So that just blows my mind that, like, you know, the kindness and love from strangers. And that's what I constantly try to give to the new guy who comes in, you know. And I'm not perfect, you know. I was kicked out of my first Oxford House and went back to jail. But yeah, so I've been on staff since January 2nd of this year, so I'm still very new. But I'm a real addict, so like everything I do is extreme. So, you know, when they hired me, I was like, I'm gonna be the best outreach worker this state's ever seen. And then I had the privilege to get trained under Debbie Robinson, which was awesome. So, but the relationship and support. On the house level, I was fortunate. The second house I got into, Oxford House Hampton, very strong house. They were very engaged with each other. I got to share a room with someone, and at first I was pissed, but I was actually, it worked out pretty good. We got very close. As a house, we painted the entire interior of the house, and they just constantly did things to, you know, just foster unity in the house. We went to meetings together. So I really felt like I joined a family. And it's unfortunate, you know, I hear a lot of other people's experience, and that's not everyone's experience, and, you know, that's unfortunate. I wish it was, and I'm glad that it was mine. So on the chapter level, very quick, my first chapter meeting, they were like, somebody, I forget, I was writing, and they were like, oh, he has nice handwriting. He's going to be our secretary. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever. And so I did it. I took it, and I did that for a little while, and then I met the outreach worker. And I didn't know what outreach was. I thought they were just really enthusiastic people who I had no idea that they worked. I didn't know what OHI was. I thought it was volunteer, and I just didn't know. And she came up to me, Deborah Jackson, in Eastern Virginia region, and she was like, I think you would be a great outreach worker. And at the time, I was very limited where I could work because I was a convicted felon. So I was broke. And yeah, I was like, why not? Let's do it. So I took the position. But anyway, on the chapter level, as far as relationship of support, you know, the Zoom was weird. I could see why in-person chapter meetings are important, you know, and I remember when they made the switch from Zoom to in-person, all the guys in my house all went and got their hair cut, and I was very confused. And then I realized very shortly why, because all the women houses were coming to, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, I see. But yeah, the chapter on Zoom was it was hard to connect. And these are houses that are like in the same town. So when it moved back to in person, I loved it. You know, it was great. I got to meet a lot of other people. Now VSA in Virginia State Association, still meets on Zoom. And one of the questions that we had on our little intro that Barbara read was, are there situations where virtual meetings are preferable to in-person meetings, and if so, under what circumstances? And, you know, this is just my opinion. The virtual state association meeting, I think, works well for Virginia. You know, it covers a large geographical area. It's very difficult, I would imagine, for some people. I mean, I didn't have a car when I started, and to travel, you know, Virginia's pretty big. So, you know, and again, I only know it on Zoom, but it seems to function, you know, pretty good for me. And I think for everyone else. Now, I think there was a motion. I do believe they're going to start alternating in person and virtual, so we'll see what the future holds for that. But I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I think in Oxford House, any opportunity for members to meet face-to-face is always more effective than virtual. And I love virtual. You know, again, like I said, I'm a father. My time's limited sometimes. So virtual meetings is something that I do. I'm not always able to go to face-to-face. But if I had the choice, I do prefer face-to-face. It's more intimate and that. So where are we at on time here? Okay, right on time. Let's see. So I guess the whole theme here is, what can we do to build constructive relationships with each other? And, you know, I think of unity. And this is something, again, new to me, because Virginia, our chapter, just started the Unity Committee back. You know, like Virginia, I don't know how other states worked through the pandemic, if they shut down. I know some didn't. It was just business as usual. But Virginia did. It was a rough change from what I hear. And everyone had to get tech savvy very quick. And but recently, in like the last, I'd say 6 months, there have been Unity events, and they're fun. You know, it's well, the first few were awkward, just because, you know, I don't do necessarily well around large crowds of people. But I went, you know, to show support, and I did it, and it's just fun. You know, it's a great time to get together with a common goal, recovery, you know, and all that. So I guess the last thing I'll finish with is, this is why I love Oxford House so much, because this is how cool it is to work for Oxford House. So a few months ago, those two kids when I said I was arrested, my two younger kids, they were taken into foster care. And me and Mom, you know, were doing everything we could to get them back. And it's a long process. If anyone has ever dealt with DFS, you know, you're in for the long haul. You know, they don't care about what you do the first 6 months. They want to see big picture, and rightfully so. And Mom was supposed to get them, and she had a slip-up the week before court. So this was like 3 months ago. So very unexpectedly, they were like, Dad, can you take the kids? And I was like, well, shit, I live in an Oxford House. So I talked to my boss, and he's like, well, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna open a men and children's Oxford House, and then you're gonna take your kids. So we got one. Now the baby, the youngest, her story was a little different. She went right from birth right to a foster family. So it was a whole, but court's October 4th, and we are in a position to get her back. So we'll see. But that's why I love Oxford House, because what kind of job would be, you know what I mean? Like, that's insane. I love it. So now I live in Richmond. It was a men's house, and when I relocated to Central Virginia, my boss, Paul Stevens, went to the house, and they were like, look, you know, he had to sell it to him, you know, because it's different. The structure for a men and children's house or women and children's, it's a lot different than your typical just men and women. But they jumped on board, and Lucas has his own chore, and and he loves it. It's just really cool. But anyway, I'm really glad to be up here. I hope everyone's having as good as a time as I am, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your convention.
Wow. Thank you, Devin. Whew. How about another round of applause for all the panelists, you guys? And I'm kind of happy I didn't have to talk too much. They covered almost everything, but not your questions. So now we're going to take some questions. Raise your hand. Tyler's going to be running around. First one up, he'll come to you and move around slowly. So just be patient.
Hey guys, my name's John. I'm from New Jersey. So early on, I think it was you talked about unity events. And in my house, there seems to be a very big lack of commitment towards service. It's very frustrating. You know, I'm fortunate that when I moved in almost a year and a half ago, my outreach worker was living in the house. And if there's anything I've learned of all the attempts of recovery, it was like you just do what's asked of you to do. So when he says, come here, do this, help me move furniture, open this house, I just jumped onto it. And, you know, that's what I've done. But there's guys who've been in my house for years now who are just used to paying rent, not getting high, and being involved in house meeting, but that's it. And so when you talk about unity events, it's a two-part question. Is one, what does it look like? Is it just, you know, bowling, barbecue, or is there a little more to it? And two, can it be voted to make it like a requirement towards the guys in my house so that way they actually get their ass off the couch and do a little bit more than the minimum?
So to answer the first part of your question, anything that's fun can be a unity event. You know what I mean? We've done homeless outreach in the parks, handing out, you know, like hygiene stuff, lots of food, always food. If you feed them, they will definitely come. Pool parties, barbecues, cornhole tournaments. As far as getting people more involved, I mean, I don't know how, probably might not the right reason, but I know for me, when I have a house and there's someone that brings up a question like that, I'll say volunteer your house to host the next unity event. You know what I mean? And bring everybody to your house, and then they'll see it's fun. You know what I mean? They'll see that it's fun, and maybe it'll spark something in them that reminds them, you know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe we should step up and kind of be more involved with the community as a whole. And there's also sometimes that there's some members that you're not going to be able to get to step up. And then you just focus all of your attention on the new people that come in, and you get them fired up. And then sooner or later, that house is going to have a majority of people who are fired up, and then the other person is going to feel a little left out and either step up or move out. It's one of the two.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Armani from San Antonio, Texas. I am the South Texas Regional Vice Chair for our region. And so my question is that with our chain of support, I'm not sure if it's the same way all over the place or all throughout Oxford. Outreach is like our very last point of contact. However, we have outreach workers that have come in and said, I am the ultimate authority. And so the South Texas Regional Organization doesn't get the chance to come out and assist these chapters because everybody's running to outreach. So how can we redirect them back? And I saw on the pyramid where it says that OHI staff and HSC are the ones who support. So it's kind of like confusing a little bit.
So as outreach workers, we guide, teach, and train the members that reside in our current houses, and we focus on expansion and opening new Oxford houses opened by core members that currently live in those houses typically, right? So we should absolutely be the last, every time my phone rings and, it's typically somebody 15 days sober that wants to reinvent the Oxford House wheel in their house. And they've got all these ideas. And I'm like, have you talked to the core member of your house? Have you reached out to your chapter chair? Have you reached out to your Sabi? Well, how do I find them? I'm like, where are you standing in your house in the living room? Turn around. There's a whiteboard behind you, So absolutely. Like this is a member-driven organization. You know what I mean? We don't want to be in the fire. We don't.
No.
Do y'all? No, we don't. Because we were in the grease as members. You know what I'm saying? That's how we learned and we grew. So how do you get them to assist you?
No, how do we redirect them to where, because now it's like everybody just goes to outreach with problems because the outreach came in and said, I am the ultimate authority. Like, so it's like, forget regional, forget chapter, come to me with something.
Right. How about inviting those new members in those houses to your association meetings, so they can see what y'all do, so then they know that y'all are the body to reach.
And maybe go to your chapter meeting and discuss who is the one helping with the houses and make sure everybody gets a list of names and numbers of who those people are that y'all need to contact. And then that kind of cuts that problem. So your next chapter meeting, just talk about how you feel too. Like everybody's voice matters in Oxford House, whether it's on the house level, chapter level, state level. Your voice matters because without you, this doesn't work. So just remember that.
Chapter Housing Services Chair can take care of it.
Right. Or y'all have social boards, right? You said Texas. So maybe promote yourself as being a point of contact to reach out to for help.
Oh, everybody knows who I am.
Oh, wonderful.
So, my name's Rob from Topeka, Kansas.
Oh, Topeka.
Check. So, back in March, I opened a new house, and with the addition of that new house, our chapter decided to split, and I was voted chapter chair of this brand newest chapter in Kansas. Kind of since the beginning, we've struggled to keep interest in chapter. So, like, whenever a position comes open in chapter, there's really no house members that attend. And some of the positions we filled, we already knew they weren't the best fit, but they ran unopposed. They might only last a month or two. What's the best way to get houses to send their members to chapter to have interest in it?
There's honestly a couple different ways you can do that. I know that in Arizona, the chapters or the houses all voted in the bylaws for the chapter that every new person has to attend one chapter meeting, one HSC meeting, one new member orientation. So we're at least touching them, they're coming once, you know what I mean, to each thing. That's one way that you can kind of do it, but make it fun. I know, plan something fun after the chapter meeting, right? So, okay, we've got this really cool thing to do afterwards, but you have to come and attend this first. And then there'll be ebbs and flows in it too, you know what I mean? Sometimes you'll have a really strong involvement in your chapter, and sometimes you'll get people that just simply raise their hand and went unopposed. So maybe put some effort and time in working with them to get them excited, reaching out to other chapters to see what's working with them in your state, get them to come to your chapter meeting and kind of spark some stuff up. But definitely just don't give up.
We do an EES raffle.
That's a good one. Money will bring them.
Yeah, money will bring them.
Money will bring them.
My name's Ryan. I am from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm also Dune Street president and Chapter 13 treasurer. My question is, when somebody's there and they get phone numbers are being disconnected, there's nobody answering phones for new people getting in houses and stuff like that. What do you do in that situation?
Ryan, you call your outreach worker.
Right.
And I'm your outreach worker. It's okay.
Barb will
It's okay.
take care of it.
No, it's okay. But it's a good question, though. It is, because that does happen a lot in a lot of areas, even worldwide, where, a member might move out and no one knows how to change the vacancy, the number. So get with your outreach worker. Your house should be able to do it, utilizing the house phone and the house email. And if that's not accessible, your outreach worker should be able to assist you with that.
Call them out.
I love you, Ryan. You're awesome. What, Jesse?
Or Barbara will help people outside of her chapter.
I do, yes. Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that.
Hi, I'm Carlene from Washington, D.C., and I'm in Chapter 3. I am the Housing Service Rep Secretary and the Comptroller for the House. Now, my question is, for the chapter, is it the president the only one who can vote? Well, that's what I was told. I'm not sure if it's an OHI decision or because all the members don't attend the chapter meeting. I still go, but I'm not allowed to vote because the presidents for the houses are the only ones required to vote. Is that correct?
So yeah, so every house gets a vote, but if you're there with your house, y'all should discuss it as a house on how y'all want to vote. So if you're opposing.
And it's the president who makes
And the
vote.
president just says, aye.
Says what we vote.
Yeah, but as a house, y'all should vote together as what your house vote's gonna be.
Oh.
Yeah, so like, for instance, the chapter brings up something and
Yes.
says, take it back to your house. And then that way, when we come back to chapter, we'll make a vote and tell your house and see what your house votes on, right?
We don't do it that way, but yes, okay, if that's the way it's supposed to be done. Because if we're in a chapter meeting and there's something that needs to be voted on, the only one that votes is our president.
Well, so every member at that chapter meeting,
Not all the time, but I'm a
but
regular.
a chapter level vote, and this is how we do in our state, whoever's there is a part of that vote. That's it. It doesn't
another
matter.
So it's not
It's
just the
good to go.
president.
So, yeah, but here's the thing that I would encourage everybody that lives in an Oxford house. These are officer positions to help run your house smoothly.
Yes.
That is not a high position. No one can say, oh, well, I'm president, so I get to make the decisions on this certain situation. This is a group effort. I've gotten several times where someone's a treasurer and they're busy, but they're doing the books and they can't take the deposit. Somebody else in the house can take a deposit. This is a team effort.
Right.
Those positions are just to kind of help sort out to make the house business run smoothly. Anybody can step up and do something to help the other person out. But other than that, I get really upset when I say, well, I hear people, I'm president or I'm this. Cool. I'm an Oxford House member.
Right.
Democratic, you guys, always.
How you doing? I'm Tuna from Texas, and
Tuna.
all right, and so I live in a very autonomous house, and maybe very lot of seniors, as it was explained to the last panel. How can I get them or get the house to go to these meetings and go be more affiliated with Oxford and chapter because it's very stagnant in there and it sets a very bad example for the newcomers that we have in our house now.
Well, first and foremost, if you're running around saying you're autonomous, you're missing the mark because we're all autonomous. We all self-govern, we all have democracy. This happens regularly. We get in our little system of going to work, going to our required meetings a week, and we're busy, right? We're too busy, and then we get a boo, so then we're more busy. All these things happen, and complacency can sit in. Honestly, one of the things that I find most successful and what I train my members to do is sit down in a setting, whether it be over dinner or just on the couch, and really bring up, hey man, what are we really doing here, right? We got into recovery, or we got sober to save our lives. But we got into recovery and the recovery community to give back what was so freely given to us. We moved into an Oxford House to do the exact same thing. So if you're now too busy to help the newcomer and to go to the things and to participate in the unity events, man, maybe it's time you got your own place. Like, let's be honest, you know what I mean? We want people to stay as long as they want to stay, as long as they're doing all the things, right?
Yeah.
There does come a time where someone will get the good job and have they now changed their view, and are they just simply paying EES just because it's reasonably priced for them? You know, so let's have let's have some honest, transparent conversations, and really, they just may need to be asked that and told that for them to be like, man, I'm off base, because this is a beam we walk in life, right? It only takes a couple things to start slacking for us to be off that beam and right back where we were before we came to Oxford House. And what I like to tell members as well is don't ever forget that you needed Oxford House. Oxford House did not need you. You came and knocked on the Oxford House door, right? Okay? So sometimes we have to help somebody change their perspective and realign really what we're doing. But I don't really encourage y'all to have that in an emergency house meeting, or just a, hey man, let's go grab a smoke, let's go sit, if that's something you're noticing in your house, be that person and come from a rehabilitative, supportive manner.
Right.
Just one guy to one guy talking.
And it's been there. It's come to that already, and I've already been able to have that conversation. I've only been there 6 months, and I'm the HSC, and they're like, you got to go do everything, with chapter. You got to go do this. You're our vote, and it's very. The seniors are very majority vote when there's
Yeah.
4 of them over 7, right?
Right.
So it's very hard to make that table shift,
Right.
when I'm only one person.
So do you have openings in your house? You have vacancies?
We have 2.
Okay, you got to get those 2 new guys on Team HSE, Team Unity. That's what you got to do. That's what Nathan was talking about. Come on, boys. We get in the car. We doing big
Yeah.
sober things today.
Yeah, and I
and
get that.
you're gonna flip the table.
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you come to San Antonio?
Anytime you want, boo boo. I'm from Texas.
We still got 15 minutes.
She said, please come.
Hey guys, my name is Jeremy King. I am a newly elected chapter chair from, thank you. I live in San Antonio, Texas, and when I moved into the position, there wasn't a lot of replication on how the job is supposed to be fulfilled. I have an idea of what's gonna be going on next. My main question is about the HSC committee and how to really get that started and how to conduct that meeting within my chapter. We've struggled at holding the HSC role, and I just kind of want some insight if you guys can share on how to really get that committee going and keeping it strong.
Okay, no. So my experience, only because I did housing services as an alumni member for 18 months, even after I left the house. So part of really what you got to do is networking. Like, let's remove a little bit of what we need to do for our house, but the members in the houses, let's go out, have coffee, let's go to meetings, like see the recovery in each other, because sometimes building housing services, kind of, you need people that are actually doing what you need an example for, you know what I'm saying? Well, I think one time I had like 18 people and energy drinks. I would, post on Facebook or send out a group message to each contact person in the house. And I would be like, hey, I'm going to have some food and energy drinks, just hang out in the house. And then I'd pull a meeting together. Oh, by the way, who's good at some officer positions? And I kind of tricked people because I didn't like doing it by myself. I mean, I was one person doing a whole central west of North Carolina, which consisted of 60 houses. And I was just a service member, and that's a lot. So I was going to trick people to come with me. And I'm sure you guys got
It's a good, I like it, tricking.
The thing is just honestly, just be consistent with it. Keep your eye out for people who, like, especially in like newcomer orientations, who like you just see the spark, right? Or maybe they're sitting in the back and like they just seem really inquisitive or have a really good question. Like those are the people you kind of want to wrap up, and then make it fun, right? I've seen both sides of it. I've seen HSC be the police. You know what I mean? Like we're coming in and we're coming in. And then I've seen it, that doesn't work out well. And then I've seen it where, you know, hey, we want to be supportive, and like our main purpose is to come help you be better in your house. You know what I mean? So that you can be the best house that you possibly can be. And coming at it with that kind of attitude makes all the difference. But I always look for the new people, and sometimes when you don't have people stepping up, like I said, I just trick people. You know what I mean? I just say, we're gonna go get coffee, and then really we're gonna go hit 2 houses on the way, and then maybe a presentation afterwards. You know what I mean?
So you're in San Antonio, big area? Okay. So Central Oklahoma, we have a women's and men's HSC. We divided them. So we do require, like Nathan said, in our bylaws that they attend one housing services meeting. And then, you know, on the women's side, once they get there, we're like, a representative from your house must come and tell us just what's going on in your house. We always have a big meal, and we rotate through the varying cities. You know, Oklahoma City, we'll go down to Norman, we'll go down to Moore. But what I explain to everybody is the housing services, if housing services is coming to your house, you should be making the coffee, the Keurig with the creamer that's liquid and some cookies. Because they could be on their couch with, you know, Netflix and chilling, but they came to help your house. They came to train your treasurer. They came to train your comptroller. So we're going to allow them to be in our house, right? Now, the housing services is going to give enough support, but if y'all fail to take that guidance and assistance from the housing services, then that's when the chapter, but it's a process, you know. I always suggest to them, let's be a part of housing services and be helpful, and it's highly possible to get a house right back on track. You know what I mean? But if they're unwilling to take that direction and that guidance, we're always headed towards a charter violation, right? We don't want housing services here, okay, well then cool. But don't call us when you're, you know, financially no longer supporting. You know what I mean? Now it's a whole nother ball of wax. And it didn't have to be that way. So my suggestion to you is set a day, set a time, get a house to volunteer. Set it in the evenings, people will be off work. You know what I mean? Maybe, and don't change the day though. You gotta keep the day and the time once a month. It's gotta be consistent. The women in Central Oklahoma meet the last Monday of every month at 8 p.m. Only thing that changes is the house. And I get calls all the time. I work. I'm super sorry. Maybe you can request off for next month if you really want to attend the meeting, right? But until then, send another chica from your house, okay?
Hi, my name is Ariana. I'm from Tacoma, Washington, and I'm our new chapter HSR, and I just had a question about as far as opening houses. Like, I understand like the minimum requirements of like it should be in like a safe neighborhood, it should have like this many bedrooms and stuff, but like, do you guys have any tips for like finding houses? Because like I go on Zillow and I don't really find houses that are in like an affordable price range for people. And I know I live on like Hosmer, and it really isn't the best neighborhood, and sometimes like the houses are like old, and sometimes the like landlords aren't like, sometimes they're slumlords. So yeah, what are some tips? And like, I know at least in our chapter we don't do house inspections, so it's hard to find out if like the houses are in good condition.
So whenever you're looking on Zillow and stuff like that, are you looking for like 4-bedroom? Yeah, look for 3-bedroom.
Okay.
With a dining room.
Okay.
Or a 3-bedroom and a second den, or a den or an office or something like that, because I can never find anything like 4 bedrooms and above, can never find anything that's reasonable. So we do 3 bedrooms and then convert something into a bedroom.
Is it better to like drive around the neighborhood and talk to like landlords?
I mean, yeah. Just walk up, whenever someone says for rent, just walk up, knock on the door.
Okay.
One more?
Hi, my name's Patty. I'm from Linwood, Washington, Chapter 1. Hi. Last year at convention, I've been lived in Oxford for 4.5 years, so I've been there all. Last year at convention, I came over with this thought because we kept saying we needed more training. And I said, we need a training coordinator position in our chapter. So we created one, and I had just finished my 10 years treasurer, so here I am, training coordinator. But we do not, we're just about ready going to start doing actual chapter newcomer training, which we haven't done. And can you give me any guidelines, any suggestions how to facilitate that? Exactly what that entails? Other than, I know what we do in the house.
So there's a new member orientation that's,
Right, we do.
that's on the drive. We do it once a month prior to our inter-chapter meeting.
Okay.
Same time, every month, you know,
Okay. We're
yeah.
doing house position training at that particular time now, so.
Okay.
That's something we could incorporate into that.
Right, and we require new members, and we understand that they've got a lot going on when they come in, so we in Oklahoma do 60 days. You've got 60 days to attend your new member orientation, but we highly encourage that they do it right away. So again, you just need to pick a day and a time, and it's consistent, you know?
Okay, all right.
People got a lot going on, so we got to
Yep, we do.
keep the pattern for them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for attending, and if you guys have any more questions, we'll be around to answer them. Not here, though, just kind of have to find us, randomly snatch, okay? No, thank you guys, have a good day. Enjoy the banquet tonight.